Have you ever wondered why the most intelligent people always seem to walk alone? Why they drift away from crowds? Why they prefer silence over conversation and solitude over attention? It's not because they are antisocial, it's because they see life differently. They see beyond the surface, beyond the illusions most people live in. Their mind hungers for truth, not noise. Their soul craves peace, not popularity. The world calls them distant, but in truth, they are just awake. Today, we will uncover the real reason intelligent people choose solitude and why their silence often speaks louder than the world's noise. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Feel the rhythm of your own breath. Feel the stillness within your body. And understand, this moment is all that exists, because only in silence can wisdom enter. Today, we speak about something that many experience but rarely understand: why intelligent people are often alone. It is not because they dislike others. It is because they see what others overlook. They hear what others ignore. They feel what others deny. When your mind begins to awaken, you no longer fit into the patterns of the ordinary world. The first reason intelligent people often walk alone is perception, deep perception. They see life not from the surface but from its roots. They notice details that escape the common eye. They sense when words don't match actions, when smiles hide intentions, when energy contradicts appearance. They read between the lines of reality. And once you begin to see beyond illusions, life changes forever. You can no longer pretend that everything is fine when it isn't. You can no longer find joy in distractions that once entertained you. You begin to crave truth, depth, and authenticity in a world addicted to comfort and pretense. An intelligent person looks at the world and sees how most people live unconsciously, repeating patterns, following trends, avoiding discomfort. They see how conversations revolve around gossip, validation, and shallow desires. And suddenly, the noise becomes unbearable. They sit in a room full of people and feel invisible, not because they are ignored, but because no one speaks their language. They are not interested in talking about others. They are interested in understanding themselves. They are not seeking entertainment. They are seeking enlightenment. This is why they prefer solitude, not as an escape, but as alignment. When they are alone, they can breathe freely. They can think deeply without interruption. They can feel the subtle flow of their own thoughts and emotions without being drowned by the chaos of the crowd. In solitude, they find honesty. They can observe themselves, their fears, their motives, their desires, without masks. And that level of self-awareness becomes addictive, because once you start to know yourself, you cannot go back to pretending. An intelligent mind is like a finely tuned instrument. It needs silence to create harmony. Noise distorts its sound. When the world becomes too loud, they retreat, not because they are antisocial, but because they value peace more than approval. They understand that not every connection is nourishment. Some interactions drain energy instead of giving it, and so they choose carefully who enters their space. They would rather walk alone on a path of truth than join a crowd marching toward illusion. And that decision, though misunderstood by many, is the birth of wisdom. For when you stop needing company to feel complete, you begin to experience life as it truly is, raw, unfiltered, and sacred. The solitude of the intelligent is not loneliness. It is a temple of clarity. It is the space where their thoughts transform into understanding, where observation becomes insight, and where silence becomes their greatest teacher. This is the beginning of their journey, the moment they realize that depth has a price, and the price is solitude. Awareness is both a blessing and a burden. It is the light that reveals truth, but also the weight that makes you see everything you once ignored. Intelligent people carry this awareness deeply. It is not something they can switch off or escape from. Their mind is constantly observing, analyzing, connecting dots that others don't even notice. They see patterns in behavior, they sense the emotions people try to hide, and they recognize intentions behind words long before they are spoken. This constant awareness creates an invisible heaviness, a sense that they are carrying more than they should, not in the form of physical weight, but in the form of mental and emotional perception. To live awake in a world that is asleep is not easy. It means watching people destroy their peace-chasing illusions. It means seeing manipulation wrapped in charm, truth buried under ego, and authenticity replaced with performance. Intelligent people cannot unsee what they have seen. They cannot pretend that they don't know, because knowing is their nature. They see when someone is lying to themselves, they feel when someone's energy is off, and they understand when silence hides pain. And this sensitivity often isolates them. They find it difficult to participate in the ordinary rhythm of social life, because every interaction feels layered. Too many unspoken emotions, too many hidden motives. They start craving simplicity, but simplicity is rare in a complicated world. So they withdraw, not out of arrogance, but exhaustion. They retreat into solitude to cleanse themselves from the emotional noise of others. To many it looks like loneliness, but for them, it is survival. The mind that feels deeply must rest deeply too. Intelligent people understand that awareness without balance can become suffering. So they choose silence not as escape, but as restoration. In silence, they process everything they've seen and felt. They meditate, reflect, or simply sit in stillness to regain equilibrium. Because awareness is like fire, it illuminates, but it can also burn if not handled with care. When you are deeply intelligent, you begin to notice how most people avoid thinking or feeling too deeply. They drown their awareness in entertainment, work, or distraction. They chase happiness outside themselves because they fear the stillness inside. But intelligent souls cannot live like that. They see through the illusion that busyness equals purpose. They seek meaning, not movement. They seek truth, not comfort, and because of that, they are often misunderstood. People label them as distant, arrogant, or overthinkers, but in truth, they are just awake. They have chosen consciousness over conformity, and that path is never crowded. The burden of awareness also brings compassion. They do not judge easily because they understand why people behave the way they do. They see the pain behind anger, the fear behind pride, the confusion behind cruelty. This deep understanding makes them both gentle and tired. It's not that they dislike people, they simply see too much of them. To be intelligent is to live between two worlds, the visible and the invisible. And that in-between space can feel lonely because few are willing to go there. Yet, the intelligent know that awareness is their purpose. It is what makes them human in the truest sense. And though the weight of knowing can be heavy, it also gives them strength. They learn to carry their awareness not as a curse, but as a sacred responsibility. Because to see deeply is to live truthfully, and that is a gift only few are ready to bear. Solitude, for the intelligent, is not emptiness, it is nourishment. It is the sacred ground where their mind rests and their soul breathes again. In a world that constantly shouts, they choose to whisper to themselves. In a world obsessed with being seen, they find peace in being unseen. Because for the intelligent, solitude is not isolation, it is alignment. It is the moment when the noise fades and the truth within finally becomes audible. In solitude, they are not lonely, they are free. Free from opinions, expectations, and the weight of pretending to be understood. They can finally remove every mask that society has asked them to wear and meet themselves without filters or judgment. This meeting with the self is what most people fear, but it is what the intelligent crave. When they are alone, they can think without interruption. They can explore questions without rushing to answers. They can listen to the subtle whispers of their intuition, the quiet voice that is always drowned out by the world's demands. It is in these quiet hours that creativity awakens. The intelligent often find their greatest inspiration when the world sleeps and only silence remains. They write, they dream, they build, they create, not to impress, but to express, because solitude sharpens their connection to the unseen source of all creation. It allows them to access the deeper layers of consciousness where truth and imagination intertwine. They understand that genius cannot bloom in chaos. It needs the calm soil of solitude to take root. That is why throughout history, the greatest thinkers, artists, and sages all sought time alone, not because they disliked people, but because they needed space to listen to something beyond them. In solitude, the intelligent begin to see life clearly. They reflect on their journey, their mistakes, their growth. They see patterns repeating in their relationships and understand the lessons hidden within each one. They learn to forgive themselves, to let go, to heal, because silence reveals what distraction hides. In the absence of noise, they confront the raw truth of who they are, not who the world wants them to be. They discover their strengths, their wounds, and their purpose. And in that discovery, solitude transforms from something external into something internal. It becomes a state of being. They can be surrounded by people and still feel at peace because they have built a sanctuary within their own mind. This is the secret of the intelligent. They have learned to be their own companion. They do not seek others to fill their emptiness because they no longer feel empty. They have turned their solitude into strength, into art, into wisdom. When they walk through life, they do not fear silence. They honor it. Because silence speaks in ways that words cannot. It teaches them patience, clarity, and discipline. It allows them to observe rather than react, to understand rather than judge. And from that understanding comes a calm confidence, a quiet power that needs no validation. So when the intelligent withdraw from the world, it is not because they are broken, it is because they are rebuilding themselves. It is because they are returning home to their essence, to that inner stillness where everything makes sense again. And when they emerge, they do not come back as who they were. They come back wiser, clearer, stronger. Because solitude has refined them. It has burned away what was false and revealed what is real. That is why solitude for the intelligent is not a cage, it is freedom. It is the sacred space where they remember who they are before the world told them who to be. There comes a time in every intelligent person's journey when they realize that their solitude has not weakened them. It has shaped them into something powerful. In the silence where others would feel lost, they have learned to find direction. In moments when others crave validation, they have learned to trust their own knowing. Because solitude has taught them the one lesson that changes everything: you do not need to be understood by others to understand yourself. The strength of an intelligent person is quiet, steady, and rooted in truth. It is not loud or attention-seeking because it doesn't come from ego, it comes from awareness. Through solitude, they have discovered how to master their emotions, to control their reactions, to observe life rather than be consumed by it. They do not chase approval or recognition because they know their worth is not defined by how many people see them, but by how deeply they see themselves. They move with calm confidence, unmoved by noise, untouched by comparison. Their presence carries peace, not because life has been easy, but because they have learned how to remain centered in chaos. An intelligent soul understands that the world will not always understand them, and that's okay. They have stopped explaining themselves, stopped trying to convince others of their perspective. They have learned that those who are meant to resonate with their energy will do so naturally, without force, without explanation. The more they walk their path in silence, the more they attract what aligns and release what doesn't. Because silence filters energy. It keeps away the curious and invites the conscious. When you no longer need to be heard to feel seen, you step into true inner freedom. That is the silent strength of the intelligent. They do not waste energy arguing about truth, they live it. They do not need to announce their goals, they achieve them. They do not boast about their peace, they radiate it. And that radiance cannot be faked because it comes from alignment, from the deep knowing that everything unfolds in divine timing. They understand that solitude was never punishment, it was preparation. It taught them patience, discipline, and discernment. It stripped away false friendships, empty pursuits, and meaningless distractions. It forced them to grow roots so deep that no storm could shake them. And now, they walk through life grounded, strong, and unbothered. The intelligent person no longer fears being alone because they know solitude is where their spirit thrives. They no longer chase people because they attract authenticity by being authentic themselves. They have learned the art of detachment, not from indifference, but from understanding. They love deeply, but without clinging. They give freely, but without losing themselves. They know that everything and everyone comes with a season, and when it's time to let go, they release with grace, not bitterness. That is real strength, the kind that comes from spiritual maturity. When you reach this state, you stop seeking peace outside yourself because you become peace itself. You stop fearing solitude because you realize it is not the absence of connection, it is the presence of consciousness. You stop waiting for others to complete you because you are already whole. And that wholeness radiates in your energy, in your eyes, in your silence. People begin to feel your calm without you saying a word. Your energy becomes your language, your presence, your message. That is why intelligent people walk alone, not because they are lost, but because they have found something the world is still searching for. Their solitude is their temple, their silence their power, their peace their greatest wealth. And when the world finally learns to be still enough, it will understand what the intelligent have known all along. That true strength is not found in the crowd, but in the quiet courage to walk your own path, even if you must walk it alone.